Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got a really interesting watch for you today. Today we have the Momentum M30 300-meter automatic diver, model number 1M-DV3080, and you know the drill. We'll open it up, look at the fit and finish, the features and the functions, the build quality, and then I'll give you my overall impressions of this possible Homage watch from Momentum. Also, make sure you check out my Amazon page for this and many of my other favorite models. I'll make sure to put a link in the description field for you. So here you go. This is my first Momentum watch. Momentum is actually owned by a company called St. Moritz out of Canada. So anyway, again, first time reviewing one of these. And when I saw this, I was a little dumbstruck. And I think you'll figure out why from the thumbnail. This is a really interesting watch for more than just the obvious reason. Anyway, let's take a look at this thing. Nice little watch box. Has like a little plastic plaque or something. Oh, this is metal. It might be metal. And it says Momentum right there too. So let's take out the watch pillow. And you get some literature here, your owner's manual, yada, yada, yada. And you have, it looks like some advertising there. There you go. And here is the watch. Now, when you look at this thing for the first time, what are you thinking? Exactly, a Seiko Monster. But anyway, let's talk about this thing. And I'll go ahead and put up all the specs on the left-hand side of the screen. What I'm gonna do from now on, if I know the specs of the watch, if I can get the specs off of the manufacturer's website or some other reliable source, I'll just go ahead and put them up. If I can't, then I'll bring out the digital calipers and see what we can do there. But anyway, you're looking at a 44mm stainless steel case. It's 15mm thick. It's 52 millimeters lug to lug. It's on a 22mm stainless steel bracelet. It is 300 meters water resistant, which of course is 990 feet. It has a Seiko NH35A movement with a 41-hour power reserve. It is windable and hackable. You have a date window over there at 4 o'clock. Your screw down crown is over there at 4 o'clock. It does have a sapphire crystal on top and a mineral crystal for the see-through case back. And it has a diver's extension, and I can't figure out what type of lume they're using, but I'm guessing it's probably some sort of super luminova. So there you go. Wow. I mean, this is an interesting watch. Obviously, it looks like a Seiko Monster without the day and date being over here at 3 o'clock. It's down here at 4 o'clock. But the handset, the minute, the hour hand, the second hand, the shark tooth indexes, the way the dial is laid out, the color. I mean, from afar, you're gonna think this is a Seiko Monster. Now, I talked to the folks over at Momentum, and they said they might have been, inspired by some shark tooth divers out there. But this came out roughly the same time that the second generation Monster came out. So I think it's a little suspect that this is their own design or something they came up with just by themselves. I think this is a subtle homage to the Seiko Monster, the second generation Monster. But here is the kicker. This is a fantastic watch. Whether it's an homage or not, this thing is built like a tank, and I absolutely love it. So that's the good news. So let's go over it. Again, shark tooth indexes. Each index does have a nice chrome bezel around each one. They are set deep into the dial. There's a chapter ring that kind of rises up like a stadium around the dial. Nicely filled with lume. They look fantastic. Of course, the hour and minute hands, again, look just like the Monster. And the second hand with the red tip on there. You have quite a bit of writing underneath on the dial there. You're looking at, looks like M30 automatic. What else does it say? Professional, 300 meters, 1,000 feet. So it's quite a bit of writing. I mean, it's not too much, but it's a little bit more than I would probably like. Excuse me. You have a chapter ring, which is really nice, which is graduated into the minutes, the 60 minutes. Now here's the main difference between this and the Monster. Obviously, the bezel is totally different. This bezel, it looks like it has an insert. And it has some kind of, I guess, knurling. I would think you kind of want to say some grippy knurling right here around different segments. It looks like it's in about 5-minute segments, actually about 10-minute segments. I like the dial. I like the bezel. I like the way it looks. It does definitely, it delineates itself from an actual like an homage or knockoff of the Seiko Monster. So it does make it look a little bit different. And I like it. You do have the graduated minutes for divers from 0 to 20 right there. You can see on the perimeter right there of the bezel. The crown, love the crown. You do have a signed Momentum crown. Great screw in action. It almost feels Swiss. It is buttery smooth, whether you're screwing it in or unscrewing it. So I really do like the crown. Really like a really satisfying feel to it. The case is basically all sandblasted. There are no polished areas anywhere on the case. So that's that's a little bit different than some of your other divers out there. Most divers have a combination of polished and brushed, but this is all sandblasted, the case and the bracelet. So what else can I tell you about the kind of basic look of the watch? That's really about it. Let's look at the case back. Now they've screen printed this on the mineral glass for the case back, and this is a snap closure there, just what I call a friction closure. There's no buttons that you push to undo the clasp. But if you look on there, you see where they say, I think they're trying to rename that Seiko movement. It says roto wind, I believe. It's kind of hard for you to see. It says momentum. See if I can show it to you. See, it says momentum right there. Gosh, it's really hard to show it to you guys. There you go. Momentum right here, and then roto wind where my finger is. So basically, it's a Seiko NH35A movement. You do have some Geneva stripes on the rotor, which is really nice looking. I do like the way they did that. But it's basically a Seiko movement. Nice screw down case back. Again, this is a mineral crystal, not a sapphire crystal for the crystal here. And you have some laser etching around the perimeter. It says it's a sapphire crystal, and some other specs of the watch. Now, the only weak part of this watch is kind of the bracelet. It's a little bit loose so far as the links go for my personal taste. It's a little bit loose. See that? There's a lot of give to it. It's almost like a Jubilee bracelet in a way. But I don't like it quite that loose, me personally. But it feels great. There's solid links, solid end links. This thing, again, is built like an absolute tank. You also do get a diver's extension, which I will show you here. All right, let's go ahead and pop out the diver's extension. There you go. Again, a little bit tinny. The bracelet is maybe the weak point of this watch, but it's not bad. It'll definitely, do what it's supposed to do. But I think they could have maybe upped their bracelet game just a little bit. But besides that, I really like this watch, y'all. I really do. Again, it just feels so substantial, so solid, and you can just look at the dial and tell this is just not some cheap homage, if that's what it is. I'm not saying that's what it is, but if that's what it is. The indexes are they're placed evenly inside the spaces. I don't know if you can see that, but they're placed evenly inside the spaces of the chapter ring. There's no lume that's dripping out. You don't see any visible glue. The date window is nice and clear. It would have been nice maybe to have a little date window around there, a little perimeter, a little white perimeter around there. But just a fantastic. You can see the AR coating, if you notice that too, on the sapphire crystal. You see that bluish tinge to it. It's a really well-built watch. I was super impressed when I opened this thing up and I sized it and put it on my wrist. I was really impressed with this watch. What else can I tell you about it? That's basically it. You do have some micro adjustments right there. Looks like you have, 4 micro adjustments. Again, I wish they had done maybe a nicer scissor clasp. That would have been nice instead of the stamped metal. But again, for what you're paying for this watch, you're getting a lot of watch for the money, I think. It's 300 meters water resistant. Of course, nobody will ever go more than about maybe 20 feet, unless you're a real serious diver. And if you're a real serious diver, you're probably not going to get a watch made in Canada by kind of a micro brand watch company. I wouldn't really say they're a micro brand. They're the next level above a micro brand, but not a full blown brand like a Seiko, a Citizen, a Bulova, or whatever. But they put out a lot of nice looking watches, interesting designs, and I'm really impressed with this effort. Whether you think it looks, and actually it does look like a lot like a Seiko Monster, but I like it. And the thing is, even though it does look like a Monster, it's a fantastic watch on its own merits which I'm really impressed. They could have gone, half-assed with this thing and kind of done a crappy job, but they really didn't. This is a fantastic looking watch. So let's go ahead and try it on. Let me give you a wrist shot here. There you go. I mean, you tell me if you look at that from afar, you're going to think Seiko Monster. The only people that really know watches are going to realize that the bezel is different. But when they look at the dial, they'll be like, oh my God, that's a Monster. A second generation Monster, which, right now, if you buy one that's never been worn or used, you're looking at, gosh, $700 to $1,000, I'm guessing. There are a couple models that there's one model, it's the red dial version that nobody really wants because it's got the red shark teeth in it. And it's not one of the best looking monsters. But if you want a second generation Monster, in fact, I'll go ahead and put a picture of that up on the left-hand side of the screen for you. If you definitely want a second generation Monster, you can get those relatively cheap. I think they're only about, I don't know, maybe $200. But they're not the black Monster. They're not the orange Monster. But you can get a second generation Monster if you wanted to. Now let's go ahead and kill the studio light, kill the monitor. Let's check out this Lume. Again, I'm not quite sure what the Lume is made of, but I'm guessing some sort of Super Luminova. Maybe, was it BG9 or C3? I'm not quite sure. Couldn't figure out what the Lume was. But whatever it is, it's really good. Look at that. I mean, good grief. That's really getting up there with Seiko's Lume Bright. Look at that Lume. Wow. And look at the pip up there at 12 o'clock. Man. I've never been really floored by again, whether you want to call it an homage or not, by an homage watch. And man, this thing is fantastic. It's a really nice watch. If y'all can't get your hands on a Seiko second generation Monster, or you just don't have one, me being the dummy that I am, I sold mine about a year ago and I regret it every single day, or at least every time I think about watches, I regret it. But sporting this on my wrist, I can kind of relive that ownership feeling of having a really cool watch, and that being the Seiko second generation Monster. So there you go, guys. If you can't get your hands on a Monster or you don't have a Monster, I highly, highly, highly recommend this M30 from Momentum. Really, really cool watch. And again, built like an absolute tank. So I'll go ahead and put a link in the description field so you can go over to Amazon and check this out. I'll also include the price in the description field for you. And also make sure you check out my Amazon page for this and many of my other favorite watches. I'll put a link in the description field for that as well. And make sure you like and subscribe. Got some new cool stuff coming up here in the next couple weeks. And guys, go out there and get yourself one of these, man. You're not going to regret it. I promise you. You will not regret. Now, you've probably never heard of St. Moritz or Momentum. You've probably never even heard of them. But this is really a find. This is the jewel in the watch world that you never knew existed. I'm really impressed with this watch. Go out there and get one. Till the next review, I'll see y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye.